Ladies and gentlemen, sports fans alike, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago, one of the couple, two, three best podcasts around. So sit back, grab yourself a cold one and a Polish sausage, park your keister in the French room, and listen to Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago.
In Chicago, you know that all sports rock. The Bears, Hawks, Bulls, Cubs, and Sox. Pick your favorite, you can choose, as long as the Packers lose. For everything you need to know, it's Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. This is your hosts, Alex and Sean. On this episode, we are going to calmly and rationally discuss the Chicago Bears, not go full meatball at all, not even a little bit. No meatball. We'll be talking Blackhawks, talking some Bulls, a little more. But first, I'd like to thank our sponsor, the Rockford Ice Hogs. If you're not familiar with the Rockford Ice Hogs, they're the AHL minor league affiliate of the Chicago Blackhawks. What does that mean for you? You get to see the stars of tomorrow today at family-friendly, affordable prices. This season is starting. So don't sleep on it. Head on over to icehogs.com. Get yourself a hat, shirt, jersey, season tickets, and more. Tell them Swerski Sports sent you. Oh, Alex. Us Bears fans were treated with, a wonderful surprise yesterday from that organization. And it was having a bird of large size fly over our head and take a dump on our heads. And it was terrible.
Sean, I want to give you one little measurement of time, and I want you to guess what this measurement of time means. 10 minutes. 10 minutes. What do you think that means?
I don't know.
That's how long I lasted. 10 minutes. 10 minutes and I was out.
Okay, then I get to fill you in on some wonderful things.
Well, I read the recap and I looked at the stats and I saw some of the replays, but still you filling in for me with venom spitting is probably going to be funny. So please proceed.
All right. Starting with asterisk. Matt Nagy today announced that he has COVID-19. Not funny. As much as I hate the man for his arrogance, incompetence, and just downright dog shittery at his job, the guy's a husband, he's a father, and I don't wish anybody to have COVID. So
agreed.
I hope for a speedy recovery in that regard. End asterisk. Okay. We start off right off the bat with the Bears get the ball and run the worst first set of downs you can have.
Oh God. Oh God.
Like literally the worst drive you could imagine. They were just like, all right, there we go. Bad drive, punt. And they give up a long punt return to give Tom Brady a short field. And the Bears defense just shits the bed. Touchdown. Game over at this point. Literally game over. Is after one drive, the Bears were in a hole so deep they could not overcome it.
Well, yeah, I mean, that set the tone right away. You look at the first drive of the game, 2 minutes, 11 seconds of absolute puke, and then they got a touchdown in 4 plays. And like you said, they got that big punt return. I believe they said it was the longest punt return of the season. So you give Tom Brady a short field. What do you think he's going to do? He's going to put it in the end zone. And that's what they did. And it only took him 51 seconds.
Yeah. It was ridiculous. I mean, they just marched right down the field. I don't know what else to say about this game. Is Akeem Hicks was hurt, couldn't go. Fine, I get it. That groin has been problematic.
Yep.
Bilal Nichols punching people in the face with the masks on. I don't
like guys ejected now because of that stuff. Don't they lead the NFL in guys like getting like punching? I don't know. I heard something that they're leading the NFL in guys like punching people, or I don't know the exact number, but either way, it shows a lack of discipline.
It is complete lack of discipline, and this team is just imploding. They got zero pressures on Tom Brady. Eddie Jackson can't tackle to save his life. They give no breaks to the Bears cornerbacks as far as officiating goes. And on offense, Allen Robinson doesn't care. He is just going through the motions. Doesn't care.
Kind of seems that way. Seems that way.
That man does not care about playing for the Chicago Bears. The offensive line is dog shit. Dog shit. And
I mean, those first two drives, oh my God.
When by far and away your best offensive lineman is about to turn 40 years old, and at the start of the season, when you called him up and said, please, can you come play for our team, was minutes away from the first game, and he was on a fishing trip. And he's by far and away your best offensive lineman. You're on your third running back because one is injured, one has COVID. You're on your third running back, and I'm not going to shit on him because he did a great job, and we'll talk more about him later. None of your other wide receivers get a shot. You have multiple tight ends on this roster that you've revamped, and you spent a second-round pick on Cole Kmet, and he drops a first down, one that hits him right in the numbers.
That really set the tone. That really set the tone right there, because if he catches that, they get that first down, they at least are probably in field goal range for Cairo Santos.
It is just fucking unconscionable how everyone is so bad at their jobs, and it starts at the top. George McCaskey, right at the top, he is a coward and a loser. Period. George McCaskey is a coward and a loser and completely incompetent. He has no business working for this franchise, except maybe I would say concessions, but he would probably screw that up too, because he probably can't do the change in his head. He's not good at change. Burn. He's a boob. You've got Teddy Phillips, who somehow, you know what? I mean, that man sucks, but it's one of those things is you hear of companies where some random person that works for the company just through whatever keeps getting promoted up until they're the top of the order. And you're like, how did that happen? They're not good at their job. How did that happen? There it is. Ted Phillips, the Bears version of that. It's not nepotism. He became an accountant. Maybe he's a good accountant. I don't know. But he became the president of this team somehow. I don't know.
You have a businessman who isn't a football expert thrown in to be the president of an NFL charter franchise.
And then from the top, those two are so stupid. They don't know how to hire. They don't know anything about football. They don't know how to hire a general manager. They keep hiring stupid Ernie Corsi and that guy doesn't know anything about football anymore. I mean, maybe one day one time he totally knew football, but he's an old, out of touch person, doesn't know football, and they just trust him. And they're, he told us to hire this guy. And you've got Ryan Pace. And you know what? Ryan Pace seems to be very good at draft, scouting. I mean, some of those late round picks he have really been good.
Mm-hmm.
Early round picks have been suspect, but his late round picks have been pretty darn good.
Yeah, they have.
But the problem is he's terrible at contracts, gives terrible contracts, terrible at cap management, And he's bad at pro scout evaluation because he brings in free agents that aren't that good. And those are problematic. And he has hitched himself to Matt Nagy. And then brings us to Matt Nagy. Matt Nagy is a bumbling idiot, and he does not deserve to be a head coach in the NFL. Period. With a T. That's how serious I'm about this. Is the Bears offense right now, we are 7 games into the season?
Yeah.
So we are almost halfway through the NFL season. So we can start extrapolating and not have it be too off the rails. Like if it was 1 game in and we're like, well, we got shut out, that means we're on pace to score 0 points. All right, that's a little ridiculous. We are roughly, we're close to halfway to the point of the season. We can start extrapolating with some confidence. The Chicago Bears offense is on pace to score 245 points this year, the lowest total since 2004 and third lowest since 1976. The caveat is they will be playing in 17 games instead of 16. They have an extra game and they will still be, they're on pace to be one of the worst offenses this team has ever had. And this is from the offensive guru who has the quarterback he wanted and installed his offense. This is year 4 of it. This is
and
what
it gets worse. It gets worse and worse by the year. It gets worse and worse by the year. I mean, it's a big deal for this team to score 17. Like 17 feels like a big deal for this team. When literally any other team can accidentally fall into 17 points.
Yeah. And Justin Fields has been sacked the most times by any quarterback in the NFL this season, even though he is 30th in the NFL in number of passes attempted.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he is number 1 in being sacked and at the bottom of the list of number of pass attempts he's made. He's getting sacked almost 15% of every pass attempt. No other quarterback is even at 10%. He's like 50% more than number 2.
And this is a guy who's mobile. And you would think you would try to roll him out more because A, he's good at that. B, he's physically able to do things better when he rolls out. And C, your offensive line can't block.
You know what? I wish I'd saved the statistics. I saw them today on plays where there's play action. He has like 100 quarterback rating and like a 65% completion rate. And there's only like 22% of the snaps. The rest of the snaps, the non-play action ones, he's something like 50 quarterback rating and like a 50% completion. And I'm like, then why aren't you doing the things that he's good at?
How does the whole universe see this but the coaching? How?
They're incompetent. They're so dumb. And I'm going to hold true is I am not going to pick apart Justin Fields' game until he has a head coach that's not stupid. I'm not going to put this kid has been successful everywhere he's ever been. And we are just beating him to a pulp. And I'm going to say that I thought Justin Fields could overcome Matt Nagy.
So did I. So did I.
Matt Nagy. If you've ever seen the movie, The Never-Ending Story, Matt Nagy's offense is the quicksand that swallowed Atreyu's horse. There's no getting out of that. He's just like, I'm going to ruin everything. I'm going to make you cry for the rest of your life thinking about it.
I mean, look at the offense. Every game, it's the same things. Constantly under pressure, not doing enough play action. Your targets, whether your tight ends or your wide receivers, are not getting any separation. How is it we can see every other team can at least see their wide receivers get separation? You have a Pro Bowl caliber guy in Allen Robinson. You have another very talented guy in Darnell Mooney. How do they not get separation? And a lot of it is the coaching scheme. And here's another thing. Here is another thing that I have wanted to say just since the beginning of this show, is that you look at the ugliness with Justin Fields at quarterback. But you know what? The offensive issues, they were there with Mitch Trubisky. They were there with Nick Foles. And now they're here with this. I don't know if I want to say this because I don't know if I fully believe it or feel like it's rational. But if we're going to go into a little meatball mode for a second.
Oh, meatball.
I've
had the crock pot going all day.
Well, all right. Well, turn that up to full boil.
I've turned it up to full pat boil.
Okay. I'm going to say this with the fact in mind that I'm not sure I fully believe it myself, and it might just be emotions setting in. This coming week against San Francisco, there is a part of me that just says, you know what, put Andy Dalton back under center. I do not want to see any more damage done to Justin Fields with this system and this protection. I feel like we've said that it's best for him to get experience, but you know what? I feel like this is just going to do damage. Physically do damage to him. Remember when they had to give him a vomit bucket? Because he got hit so hard?
Yep.
You're not going to protect him. You are not going to do play action. You're not going to utilize what's best for him. If that's the case, put Andy Dalton back under center.
I saw Brian Baldinger had a breakdown where the Bears were in a max protect and there was a safety blitz and nobody picked up the safety.
Of course not.
2 guys hit Fields, and it's unreal. Since Fields took over as starter in week 3, he's had a 20.9% chance of being pressured 3 seconds after the snap, the highest pressure probability in the NFL.
That's alarming.
By almost double.
This is the same league that has the Jets and the Lions and the Jaguars. And look where the Bears are in terms of some of those stats.
Yeah, absolutely.
And look, people will look at a blank statement of put Andy Dalton back in thinking that Andy Dalton is going to be the savior. No, he's not. Andy Dalton's not going to save anything. I'm just trying to protect Justin Fields from his own team.
Yeah. It's sad, you know.
That's where we're at.
We have a head coach that is going to stunt. He was supposed to come in here and be an offensive guru and a quarterback whisperer, and I am scared to death he's going to ruin Justin Fields.
I am too. Protect him before he's too late. Fuck it. Just put Andy Dalton back in. I don't care. Andy Dalton will take it like a man.
You know what? Nick Foles won't get a trade. Put Nick Foles in there and trade Andy Dalton. Whatever you can get for him. Replenish the draft picks. Put Foles in there. Foles, I mean, we're going to suck anyway. And then Foles
this team's not going anywhere.
Foles is nixing trades. Put him in there. Let him get beat up.
This team is not going anywhere, clearly. And look, we showed a little bit of optimism after that Raiders win. Because you know what? That was a pretty well-coached game on their parts. But when you can't beat Green Bay again, and when you do this against a team that is obviously going to be in the running for a Super Bowl in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it is obvious that you are not going to go anywhere. You are either going to miss the playoffs or you're going to do what you did last year, squeak into the wild card, and then get destroyed in the first round. And honestly, I don't even think we're going to get to that point. I really, really don't. Do you see this team beating the Cardinals or the Rams or the Buccaneers in the playoffs? I sure as hell don't. So what was most important over anything in this season was developing Justin Fields. But you know what? Him being in there right now feels like it's going to do him more harm than good. So now you have to protect him. You have to protect him from your own goddamn team.
And Dan Orlovsky went through, rewatched the game, and discussed Justin Fields' 5 turnovers. On the first interception, INT on coaching, he was told he had a free play. So Justin Fields was told in his headpiece that there was 12 men on the field, it's a free play, and the interception gets thrown because he threw a risky one, being told it's a free play. 2 weeks in a row this has happened, where a penalty wasn't called and Justin Fields gets an interception. 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
I haven't seen and gone back to see if there was 12 men on the field, and I don't know who was in his ear, but it had to have been either Bill Lazor or Matt Nagy.
Yeah, it had to be one of the two. I mean, it had to be.
The one last week was clear. It was a blown call. It was clear as day.
Yeah, that was obvious.
A jump. But first interception, that's not on him. He was told in his headset he had a free play. The first fumble, which was turnover number 2, or fumble, it was his first fumble. No help from the right tackle. Fumble in the pocket. He was hit in 1.96 seconds.
Yeah, not much you can react to in that time.
Number 3, no help from right tackle. Fumble hit in 2.01 seconds. The fourth one, it was an interception, went off of Mooney's hands into an interception. And then he put 5 was a dog trash throw. But I don't even remember the 5th one because I think I turned the game off at that point. But it was, this coaching staff is so bad. I don't know. People are like, oh man, look at Mac Jones. I'm actually seeing Bears fans say, oh, we should have drafted Mac Jones. He's better than Justin Fields.
No, he's just has better coaching and the right system around him. Could you imagine Mac Jones in the Matt Nagy system?
He would be the worst quarterback ever. If Justin Fields was playing for Bill Belichick, you would be like, oh my goodness, this kid is going to be the best quarterback in the history of the NFL. It's the effect of having a good head coach and if you watch what they do with Mac Jones is they give him easy reads and dump offs, and they give him time. They give him time to throw. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, that's kind of important, isn't it?
But you give him outlets to throw, to dump it off. If you looked when Pat Mahomes was at his most successful early on, is what completely ridiculous number of his passes were dump offs. If you're getting, who cares if you're dumping it off? Oh, you're going to dink and dunk down the field? A touchdown scored dinking and dunking down the field is the same number of points as a 80-yard pass.
Listen, if you have the right play calling and you have the right playmakers, then dinking and dunking obviously works. I mean, look at what the Chiefs did for 3 years, 2 Super Bowl appearances, 1 Super Bowl win, and 3 AFC title appearances. When you're able to use dinking and dunking because you got guys that make plays and guys that can make blocks, then yeah, it's going to work. Unfortunately for the Bears, dinking and dunking is a little hard when you can't get the right blocks, you don't have the right play calling at the right times, and you don't get the right separation. That football, in my opinion, is the sport where coaching is most important because it dictates how you play. Baseball managers, they make the lineup card, they look at matchups, but, the players are out there playing. Yeah, you might implement a shift or two, but at the end of the day, if you want to simplify baseball, you see ball, hit ball. Whereas in football, your coaching staff dictates how you play, where the pieces are going, and when. And when you don't have the right play calling and you don't have the right scheme to make you successful, you're not going to win. Even when you do have talented guys like Robinson or Mooney or Montgomery or Fields. And the other infuriating about this whole thing too is that in this game, we didn't get a chance to see anything that said, hey, you know what? We can take away some positives here. Outside maybe Khalil Herbert, which give that kid a lot of credit. I know you mentioned him earlier, but when it comes to Justin Fields and the offense as a whole, you didn't see one moment where you said, you know what? At least I feel good about this. As humiliating as it was losing to the Packers again last week, at least you could say, you know what? That first drive was great. You saw some rhythm. That was really nice. You didn't have that at all. You scored one field goal, and that was it. That was it.
Yeah, to go into your point is, yeah, baseball. I mean, I'm not going to discount a manager, period. But Charlie Manuel won a World Series as the manager of the Phillies and didn't know how to make a double switch.
Ned Yost won a World Series with the Royals.
Yeah. And so you could be a terrible coach in baseball and still win a World Series if you have the right team. You can't do that in the NFL. You can't be a terrible head coach and win. And Matt Nagy's a terrible head coach. And his offense, we've seen 4 years of it. And if your offense is truly really good, you can implement it with a bad quarterback. And I'm gonna point this out to you is look at Sean McVay and what he did with Jared Goff.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a stat, Jared Goff.
Well, I mean, while you're looking that up, I mean, Jared Goff, he got all that money. I mean, what does that tell you?
Jared Goff. I can't find it. But he has a really good winning percentage with Sean McVay. Let me see. I'm trying to find it here.
I'm pretty sure Jared Goff hasn't won a single game outside Sean McVay.
He has not. He's never won an NFL game without Sean McVay, and he's had 2 head coaches.
Yeah.
2 head coaches outside of McVay, and he's he's never won a game. He's 0-16 or something.
I mean, McVay and Goff went to a Super Bowl.
Yeah. So, man, I can't find the stat, but it's a pretty darn good record with McVay, and it is 0-16 without McVay. So Sean McVay's offense works. He can put in a bad quarterback and make it work. Matt Nagy has had how many starting quarterbacks play for this team in his 4 years here, and it's all the quarterback's fault.
Well, if you want to list every quarterback that's played under Matt Nagy, you got Mitch Trubisky, you got Chase Daniel, you have Nick Foles, you have Andy Dalton, and you have Justin Fields.
5
Those are all the guys that started.
Yep. And none of them have done really well. And what's the common denominator? Matt Nagy. I don't know what else to say. And his press conferences, I mean, afterwards,
we've reached Mark Trestman level.
We are beyond Mark Trestman level. Mark Trestman. See, here's the thing. Here's the difference between Matt Nagy and Mark Trestman. And they're both in over their head. They're both incompetent. But Mark Trestman was hired to be an offensive guru. And it was his defense that was abysmal. Couldn't figure out the defense.
Well, 2013, the defense cost them the division, and their offense was one of the best.
Yeah. And so he actually did his job on offense. Offense was pretty good. His offense has been the best offense we've seen with the Bears in how long?
Like ever. That's kind of sad.
I mean, he did his job on offense. He just couldn't bring in a defensive coordinator, and his GM was terrible. And they couldn't bring in any defensive players. It was a mess on defense. It wasn't the offense that did it. And
no.
So, I mean, you're not going to get any Mark Trestman sympathy on me, but the difference is Matt Nagy was brought in to be an offensive guru, and it's his offense that's terrible.
Right. And he's had a good defense.
that is on him that his offense is bad.
And Sean, I'm going to say this too. For the past 2 years, despite my frustration with Matt Nagy, I've at least said he's a pretty solid CEO of a team. You know, he gets his guys together. It seems like the culture there is pretty solid, and you can't say that about other coaches. But, you know, when you hear him talk about how they all came together the other day, and it's like, oh, you know, these guys came together, we're getting close. I mean, that gave me massive Mark Trestman flashbacks.
He's worse than Mark Trestman. This is a worse period than the Trestman era. And the thing is, the reason we were so upset about the Trestman era, it's because the defense was bad. And we are so used to having a good defense and a bad offense. We as Bears fans can live with a bad offense. We can't live with a bad defense. That's why we'll suffer through stupid Matt Nagy. But honestly, Matt Nagy is a bigger disaster than Mark Trestman.
Well, the other thing too, I think that I'll say about Mark Trestman was in 2014, he couldn't get a hold of that team. And there were a lot of unlikable guys on that team. And like, look, I'm not a Jay Cutler hater, but let's be real. He wasn't always the most likable teammate. And, you know, he made that very clear in 2014. So I think that did more damage to the Trestman era. You know, but, you know, at the end of the day is when you're comparing your current coach to one of the most infamous coaches that you've brought in your history, that's just saying something that speaks volumes right there. And, you know, it's a shame because remember how excited we were in year one when we won 12 games? Remember how excited and optimistic we felt? We legitimately thought there was something there. We thought, hey, this guy came in, he turned around the culture, he got us a division title. This defense is in its prime. Trubisky's going to grow. You know, let's do this thing. It's just a shame because I loved him in his first year. I thought, wow, this guy's a breath of fresh air. I love this. And the way it's fallen to the very bottom. It's just sad. And here we are once again, just like the Bears were at the end of the Fox era, just like the Bears were at the end of the Trestman era. They are a national joke. They are the butt of the joke. The I own you joke is everywhere. And I am going to ask this again to the McCaskey family. Do you like this? Shouldn't you guys be angry about this? You are seeing your team getting made fun of on a daily basis. You have seen this for a while. So why should we believe that you're these massive fans when you don't do anything about it?
It's since the year 2000. So over 2 decades, the Bears offense has finished in the top half 5 times.
Okay. I want to guess the years.
That's in points. So this,
do you have the years? Do you have the years on you?
I do. And remember, it's in points, not yards. Because if you go by yards, how many times has it been? It's been, if you go by yards, it is 1, 2, only 3.
So I'll go by points, then I'll guess 2013's got to be one of them.
2013 they were number 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 2010?
Nope.
2006?
Yes. 2006, they were also second.
2005?
No.
Okay. 2018?
Yes.
Okay.
They were 9.
I'm going to throw this guess out there. 2015?
No.
With Adam Gase? No? Okay. 2012?
Nope.
Wow. 2001?
Yes.
So what is that, 3?
Yeah, so it's
or 4? Let's see, 06,
so it's
01.
So 2001 they were 11th. 2006 they were 2nd. 2008 they were 14th.
2008. Okay, that's the one I was missing.
2013, they were second. In 2018, they were ninth.
Okay, there you go.
So they've been in yards. In Matt Nagy's era, the best they've been is 21st in yards.
And that was 2018.
Yes. And then in the 3 years since then, 29th, 26th, 32nd.
My God.
Let's see. The number of times they've been in the top half. 2016, they were 15th, although they were 28th in scoring. 2013, they were 8th in yards, 2nd in scoring. That was Trestman, but with a legit offense. 2006, they were 15th in yards, 2nd in points. And that is it since 2000.
Yikes.
And then if you want to go back to their next, decent offense, you go back to 1995, where they were 8th in points, 9th in yards with Eric Kramer, Rashawn Salam.
And that was Wanstedt, right?
I think that was Wani. What year were you born?
94.
Yeah. So you have seen some shitty offenses in your life.
Well, yeah. Remember that exercise we did last year of how many times they've made the playoffs in my lifetime? So you had 95, 2001, 2005, 2006, 2010, 2018, 2020. That's it.
Let's see. In that same time period since 2000, how many times have they been in the top half of the NFL in defense?
I'm going to say 10 times.
Oh,
it was close.
So I'm going to go from 2000. 2020 was 20th, 1st, 25th, 22nd, 13th, 1st, 3rd, 16, 16s, 21, 4, 14, 32, or 3rd, 30th, 31st, 20th, 24th, 9th, 1st, 4th, 14, 14. So they've had some legit defenses in there.
Imagine if they had legit offenses. I've said this many times, if we had legit offenses with some of those teams, we'd have more than one Super Bowl win.
Yeah, I mean, 2001, 1st in points on offense, 4th in points on defense.
Imagine if we were a top 5 offense in 2018. I think that wins a Super Bowl.
Yes. So, I mean, this has been a disaster. Mark Trestman was brought in to be an offensive guy, and
he was. It's just Mel Tucker's defense didn't do so well.
Yeah, they had in those 2 years they had the 2 of the worst defenses ever. And honestly, I'm going back. The Bears, those are literally the 2 worst defensive years the Bears have ever had in the history of the organization.
All they needed was a mediocre defense in 2013, and they probably would have gone 10-6.
So you literally with Trestman, you went from the number 3 offense in points to 30th in 1 year, 3 to 30.
Remember when John Fox era ended and we thought it couldn't get any worse offensively?
It did.
It did.
The John Fox offenses, was that 15 through 17?
Yes.
Offenses 23rd, 28th, and 29th. Now we're at 9th, 29th, 22nd, and 30th.
I don't get it.
At least he had middle of the road defenses. You know, like it's just unimaginable to think that this is working on any level. And to your point, the McCaskey family, I just read a report today from somebody that said that the McCaskies are fed up.
Then do something about it.
It's literally, if anybody on earth was fed up with something and could make an easy change, you know who would be? The McCaskies. You know what? If Virginia is fed up, if George is fed up, you know what they do? They make a phone call and they go, Ryan, fire Matt today. Period. You know what happens? Matt Nagy gets fired today. So if you're fed up with it, change it. Change it.
And yet they don't.
You get, I mean, number one, it puts you in a position of everybody knows that you are making a change for next year. It gives you all that opportunity to start your search. If you're going to move on from Ryan Pace, move on from Ryan Pace. Fire him. Fire him. Have somebody be your interim GM, interim head coach. Don't wait for the end of the season. Fire them.
You still have 10 more games to play. Do you really want to go through this for 10 more games?
Is with Eddie Jackson not knowing how to tackle, what do you think is going to happen when they play Lamar Jackson?
God.
Or Kyler Murray.
Or Aaron Rodgers again.
It just...
Or Russell Wilson.
I mean, it is a disaster. If you're truly fed up, then do something. You know what doesn't work? Just sitting in your dirty, poopy diaper and you know, telling people in silence that you're upset. You own the goddamn team. Do something about it. If I own the Bears, I would literally, Matt Nagy would have gone to show up to work, and they'd be like, there'd be security there dragging him out. Be like, we'll mail you your shit. You're not allowed back in here. Out. And I would have a press conference where I clowned him. I would literally have clowns and Matt Nagy visors dancing behind me as I announced that he was fired.
You'd also be in your really tight, sketchy leprechaun outfit playing the flute.
Matt Nagy's fired.
And as you're dancing around, the tight pants start ripping.
It is so ridiculous. Like I can't think, like it would be, I can't even think of another situation where it'd be like me going, man, in the winter in Chicago, man, my house is really cold. And then looking over and seeing the window next to me wide open going, I'm fed up with it. I'm tired of being cold. And then just sitting there still, like maybe close the window. Like, there's absolutely something they can do. It's not like me. I'm fed up with it, but I can't do anything about it. There's literally nothing I can do. And they have all the power. They own the team. And they're going to screw everything up. This team is an utter disaster.
You know, you get to the point where you're just kind of numb to it all. And I've reserved the fact. I've said to myself, there's no way there's going to be coaching changes mid-season because they don't do it. I will be absolutely shocked if they make a coaching change. Absolutely shocked at this point. It's obvious. I mean, I don't get why you feel the need to stick to your guns every year, oh, well, we don't fire people mid-season. Well, you know what? You haven't won a damn thing in over 3 decades. So maybe you got to change the way you do things.
It's clearly not working. Clearly. So why do you keep doing it?
And don't you hear all the stuff that's directed towards you? Don't you see the media? Don't you hear what the people are saying or how the fans think or what even the local broadcasters are saying? Don't you see this?
And I want to go back to a second, we're paying Allen Robinson like what, $21 million or something this year?
Whatever it is.
I'm gonna name wide receivers. You tell me, let's say salary was even. There was no difference. You could choose one of these two to have on your team. And it'd be Allen Robinson versus whoever I say. You tell me who you would want.
Okay.
Allen Robinson or Devontae Adams.
Devontae Adams.
Allen Robinson or Stephon Diggs.
Stephon Diggs.
Allen Robinson or DeAndre Hopkins.
Probably leans towards Hopkins.
Allen Robinson or Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill.
Allen Robinson or AJ Brown from the Titans.
Probably AJ Brown.
Allen Robinson or Justin Jefferson from the Vikings.
Oh, Justin Jefferson's good.
Allen Robinson or Michael Thomas from the Saints. And the only reason you're going to choose Allen Robinson is because Michael Thomas is hurt.
I was going to say.
But other than if he's healthy, no. Allen Robinson or Julio Jones.
Probably Julio Jones. I mean, it'd be no question if it was a few years ago. I know Julio Jones isn't quite where he was, but I mean,
Allen Robinson or Mike Evans.
Maybe I'll go Allen Robinson on that, but that's not much.
Allen Robinson or DK Metcalf.
Oh, DK Metcalf. I love that guy.
Allen Robinson or Adam Thielen.
Adam Thielen.
Allen Robinson or Jamar Chase.
Probably Jamar Chase.
Allen Robinson or Amari Cooper from the Cowboys.
Amari Cooper. He's a stud.
Allen Robinson or Odell Beckham Jr.
I'll go Allen Robinson on that one.
All right. Allen Robinson or Tyler Lockett.
That's a tough one. I like Tyler Lockett, but he also has a really good quarterback. I'm going to give that one to Robinson.
Allen Robinson or CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb. Kid's a stud.
I mean, how many Allen Robinson or Robert Woods?
Maybe I go Allen Robinson on that. I don't really know the stats on Robert Woods right now.
Well, last year he was 90 receptions, 936 yards, 10.4 per catch. All right. Allen Robinson or Cooper Kupp?
Cooper Kupp. You see the numbers he's putting up this year?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I just named you a ton of wide receivers and you're like, oh yeah, I would, from vast majority of them, you were like, I would take them over Allen Robinson. Yet Allen Robinson, we are paying him like a number one. He's not acting it. And sure, is part of it is this offense is abysmal.
Right.
But I mean, we're a team that's in financial dire straits with dead money in the cap. Why on earth are we going to pay this guy this money? And I think you've stopped hearing people call for him to be paid.
Yeah, I don't. You know what? I'm not going to say he's a bad receiver, but like I'm not sure he's going to be worth all that money. If you're going to bring in someone, bring in someone that's going to be more invested in the team. And I get the frustration. I do. Trust me, I do. But if you're not going to put your 100% in, then you know what? Then find somebody who will.
Yeah.
And you know what? I said this last year. I said it last year. I said I like Allen Robinson. I would like an extension for Allen. I said this last year that I'd like an extension for Robinson, but I also said, you know what? There are times where I don't like what happens when he's on the field. And there were times where I questioned if I really did want him to get paid. But now I just feel like it's kind of a lost cause.
He is a wide receiver out of necessity. He's a pretty good wide receiver, but he is not a difference maker at this point in this offense.
No, DK Metcalf is a difference maker. Have you seen that guy's wingspan?
Yeah, Devontae Adams is a difference maker. And you know what? You've gotta be a difference maker. And if you're not getting the catches you want, you know what? Make that block. Spring that running back and lay out a cornerback. You're a big man. Take him out and make that highlight reel on them blocks. Is because you know what? If you want to get paid next year and you're not getting receptions, do other shit to put you on the radar of other teams. Oh, look at the block he put on there. Sure, the Bears offense is terrible and he got 3 catches for 45 yards, but man, he had 3+ blocks in there and that makes other people remember you.
Mm-hmm.
It's this team though is just, it's a dumpster fire. And I just want to replay when the McCaskey family is, they're fed up with it. All I want to do is replay and make them. Have you ever seen A Clockwork Orange?
Yes, I know exactly where you're going with this.
I wanted them to be tied up and their eyes pried open and force them to watch on repeat the press conference where they talked about how much collaboration there was and that they trusted Pace and Nagy and that they were giving them a shot. I want them to just keep watching that over and over and over.
They're applying the eye drops.
Yes, putting the eye drops in. Because you go, you did this to yourselves. Everybody in Chicago is going, oh, fire these 2 idiots. They're terrible. And you went, no, they're good. And you reap what you sow.
You know what I kind of want to do? I want to call Aaron Rodgers and I want to say, dude, I want you to go to Hallis Hall. I want you to go to the McCaskies and I just want you to rub in their face how much you destroy them.
Teabag, Virginia. Was that the line? But speaking of Aaron Rodgers, is at some point, don't you have pride? Is that Aaron Rodgers clowned you all week? Tom Brady clowned you all week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you saw his video today. He clowned you. At some point, don't you have some pride? And,
I didn't see the video today.
Oh, he basically was just, he just clowned the Bears. And he's like, had a pretty good day yesterday. Mike E with 3 tutties. My running back's pretty good. Defense held them to 3 points. Pretty good day.
Well, you know how petty and angry Tom was after last year's loss.
Oh, and Bruce Arians. I mean, they were up by what? 28 points or something. And he was going for it for touchdown on 4th and goal from the 1.
And Todd Bowles blitzed all game long.
Yeah. They were all tired of it.
They did not forget that loss last year, and they did not forget all the Bears fans holding up the 4 fingers.
It is, and honestly, not for nothing, I wouldn't mind Todd Bowles being the head coach of the Bears.
Hell no, I like Todd Bowles.
Is if you look, Todd Bowles was the head coach of the Jets? Yeah, he was the Jets, 2015 or so for
yes,
to 2018, somewhere around there.
It was somewhere around that time, yeah.
They were actually a pretty respectable team then.
for a
And-
roster that really didn't have anything.
Yes, and they thought he should have been better. And it's like, what's his name? They used to coach the Lions before the fat lard from the Patriots.
Matt Patricia.
Yeah, the guy before Matt Patricia.
Oh, Jim Caldwell.
Yes, Jim Caldwell. Everyone railroaded him out of town, and then you realized what a good job he actually did based on the garbage that he had.
He had that Lions team more competitive than they were since Barry Sanders.
Since the Wayne Fonts era, he had that team competing. Todd Bowles had the Jets competing. I think Todd Bowles could be good. Your big question would be, all right, who is your offensive coordinator? That would be the thing.
And listen, I'm not going to say Bill Lazor is terrible, but I think in the future you need something a bit more productive.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm just saying, like, if let's say you were to bring in a guy like Todd Bowles, and obviously we're just dreaming here, but you say you bring in a Todd Bowles, it's like, all right, you want to revamp this entire staff. Though Sean Desai, maybe you keep around, but I think Sean Desai did a good job for what he has. I mean, when your secondary isn't very good, and you have guys that are banged up, I mean, that's kind of on the front seven. That's kind of tough. So, but who knows when we're even going to get to that point when we make that discussion.
Yeah, and Todd Bowles, honestly, his downfall was the Lovie Smith downfall. He's not an offensive guy, and he couldn't find an offensive coordinator that would stick, and had a bad roster. Honestly, for me, Brian Daboll, the offensive coordinator for the Bills.
I've heard his name discussed a lot.
I mean, I think he makes sense. He's coming from another cold weather city, so it's not like he's trying to install some, arena league, dome offense, greatest show on turf type thing. Like, it's an offense that's got to play in the cold weather. And honestly, Justin Fields is probably going to be a similar type quarterback that he has in Buffalo. I think that makes a lot of sense. I'm also hearing rumors that Kyle Shanahan might get fired from the 49ers. That's the case. I wouldn't mind seeing him with the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that guy has had some injuries.
Yeah, no kidding.
And he's won with Jimmy Garoppolo. He's even won with some terrible ass quarterbacks. Let's see. 49ers trying to look up the quarterbacks that he's had play under him. QBs he's had, I'm trying to draw a blank. Nick Mullins, CJ Beathard, Blaine Gabbert. Like, he's won with those guys, and he's won with Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo's not that good. He's getting paid
he's
like
a
he's
game
good.
manager at best.
And so, like, I mean, I wouldn't mind Shanahan. I really wouldn't. At least he's got a track record. But they're probably going to hire somebody terrible. Oh man, we lured John Gruden out of retirement again.
Oh God, don't even put that thought into my head. Oh Lord. Oh no. No, now you got me worried. Thanks a lot. No.
George McCaskey. We heard this John Gruden guy was real good.
Oh,
He was looking for an opportunity.
Oh no. No, I'm legit worried. No. I hate you so much.
Oh my God. That would be totally a McCaskey thing to do.
Oh God. You bring in him, or they like hire Adam Gase, or
Oh my God. Hold on. Adam Gase is the offensive coordinator. John Gruden is the head coach. You bring you bring him in the press conference. He's like, Adam Gase is making googly eyes, and John Gruden's he's like, knock on wood if you're with me.
Oh, God. Why did you have to put that fear into my head?
Oh my God. I, yeah,
I'm pretty sure if they hired John Gruden, the players would go on strike.
I think they're already about to go on strike.
Yeah, well.
So we probably won't have Matt Nagy next week on the sidelines. He'll be calling in on his cell phone into Justin Fields' helmet. Justin, there's 12 men in the field. It's free play.
Hey, man, it's Matt Nagy. Just want to tell you, you're doing a great job. Listen, be sure you stay in the pocket, all right? Don't move, and throw it because there's a free play.
Hey, guys, it's Matt Nagy. I just wanted to collaborate a little bit here.
Oh, God.
But Matt Nagy's press conference was so infuriating. That guy, when things were going good, was so excited to take the credit. Well, it's my offense. Yeah, I'm part of it too. Keep some praise on me.
It was my decision to put a lineman in to receive the touchdown against the Rams.
But the minute that there's criticism, he's in deflect mode. Well, the players got to execute. We got to find out the whys. We got to look at the tape. We had a good week of practice.
God, it's Mark Trestman again.
I'm not sure what happened there. Remember when Mark Trestman, he wanted to mix it up. So rather than having the offensive linemen have their lockers together, he just I'm going to put a linebacker with the punter, and I'm going to put the quarterback with a defensive end. And he just randomly put people together to try to create camaraderie.
I like to think he had an old style caged bingo and just put all the things in there and just spun it.
And then he tried to have book club with everybody. He's like, I want everybody to read this. Mark Trestman was a goofball.
He was a goofball. All right. We're all going to talk about what we had for dinner last night, and then we're going to discuss Tuesdays with Mari.
But yeah, Matt Nagy's a disaster. I wish I would have written down some quotes because I was so angry during this press conference. And he's like, well, I understand the Bears fans' frustrations. I don't think you do, homeboy. I don't think you do. I don't think you realize how angry we are. I don't even think it registers on your, on your dome how mad we are.
I almost feel like he thinks in his mind, well, things aren't good now, but I'm still a winning coach overall. I have a division title and 2 playoff appearances.
I don't care. What have you done for me lately? Do.
And how many playoff games have we won? Oh yeah, we're 0 for 2.
Yeah, we're a none. No playoff wins. That's all I care about. You tell me how many wins you have. How many of them were in the playoffs? Oh, none. I don't care. Outie.
Do you remember last year when Doug Peterson got canned in Philadelphia?
Oh, I heard the rumblings that if they make a change, Doug Peterson.
Shut up. Stop. For the love of shit, stop.
I kid you not. I'm hearing rumors that Doug Peterson is their preferred option.
No, stop it. He won a Super Bowl.
New details show Bears must target Doug Peterson if Matt Nagy flops.
Are you reading an article?
Yes.
Who wrote that?
Eric Lambert.
Yeah, I don't believe it. Though I do believe it.
Somebody else had it too.
I mean, I could totally see it. Like, I really could.
I mean, that seems like such a Bears thing to do.
It does. It really does.
Oh, wait, here we go. Rumor: if Matt Nagy is out, Bears may seek experienced successor. And they mentioned Doug Peterson.
Jeez.
He's only 53 and won a Super Bowl in 2017. He developed Carson Wentz into a successful quarterback. Another name to watch. Get ready. Are you ready for this?
No.
Jim Harbaugh.
Oh, I've heard that before. I've heard that before.
It's like the list of head coaches I don't want.
Is it weird for me to say, though, that Jim Harbaugh, while not my preferred choice, wouldn't be the worst of some of the ones we've talked about?
How many Big Ten titles has he won since he's been at Michigan?
Fair point, but still.
Wait. Since he's been to Michigan, how many times has he beat Ohio State?
Zilch.
Hey,
but you know what that means? If he's coaching here, that means Ohio State is going to do well. That means Justin Fields is going to do well.
I just like. I mean, it's a disaster, and I honestly think the structure needs to be is either Ted Phillips retires or they move him to the business side where there's a firewall, big firewall, and you have. I've said this before. I am not, opposed to if you take Ryan Pace and you demote him, where he's like a director of player personnel or director of scouting or something. Okay. But the problem
but how
is,
often does demotions like that happen?
They don't happen. Even if you were like, you know what, we like Ryan, we think Ryan's a good is bring in somebody with more experience that you put above him. He's the president of football operations. And that way there's a check and balance in place where Ryan Pace is not unchecked.
Right.
And I mean, it's probably better you just part ways, but either way, there should be a football person at the top of this organization that is the president of football operations. They are the one that oversees everything. And somehow you pry Ozzie Newsome into doing that. But you have that guy. Then he hires the GM. Then together they work together to hire the head coach. And that's where you're going to get success, I think.
Yeah. That's what I want. It's not what I expect, but it's what I want.
It won't happen. We'll hire some dingbat as our general manager, and then he'll hire the wrong head coach.
Ernie Accorsi will be our next GM.
And we're going to go through the stupid cycle again. And we're all going to be like, oh my God, and drooling over who the possibilities of our new head coach is going to be. And then they're going to give us, it's like when somebody's, hungry and you're like, oh man, you could have, I don't know, this super fancy meal with the finest chef in the world. And you're like, ooh, that's what I want. And somebody's like, they're like, I brought Taco Bell. And you're like,
dong.
Well, I mean, I won't starve to death, but I'm going to have diarrhea. So that's really what happens every time. It's Lucy pulling the football away from us.
Yeah, no kidding.
I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if they're going to let Matt Nagy ride out the season. I don't know if they're waiting till the bye to fire him so they have an extra week to prepare.
Yeah, like if they lose to San Francisco and
I don't know if they're waiting, if they're going to keep him on next year. Who knows? Don't tell
who
me that's
knows?
not in the realm of possibility.
Oh, anything's in the realm of possibility.
But Matt Nagy, God, let me find this quote he had, but he basically was talking about all the lows that they've had in his time there. Well, 2 years ago, we had the 4-game losing streak, and last year we had the 6-game losing streak. It was like he was writing his own obituary.
Yeah,
Like,
that's not what you want to hear.
I just like, why are you going to highlight all your terrible things?
I don't.
It's just frustrating, and we're gonna hire the wrong guy again, or we're gonna keep the wrong people.
Either way, my confidence isn't very high.
My confidence is not high at all. I don't. I think we finally have a quarterback, but you know what? We've got an aging defense and cap problems, and we have no draft picks, and we have incompetent boobs running this team.
Not a good combination.
Nope, not at all. And I mean, there's a chance we could beat the 49ers. It's not like, oh, the 49ers are unbeatable team, but they're much better coached than we are. And if they blitz, we're in trouble.
In case you're wondering, they're a 3.5-point underdog at home.
Yes, to a team with a worse record.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's funny. The 49ers apparently started 0-2, and they're on a 4-game losing streak.
You mean 2-0?
I'm sorry, 2-0. It's 2-0, and they're on a 4-game losing streak. The Bears are on a 2-game losing streak. Somebody's got to break that streak.
They'll tie.
Oh my God, that would be the worst. I'd rather have a loss than a tie, to be honest with you. Those ties are so annoying.
Same. I've always said ties should count as losses for both teams. Because if you didn't win, you lost.
The Cowboys are 5-1. I'm just looking at the NFL standings, and they're so ridiculous. The Cowboys are 5-1. The next best team in that division is 2-5.
I mean, they've won that division essentially.
They really have, unless Dak
even
Prescott
if they
goes
do.
down.
Well, even if they do, it's like, who's going to catch them?
The Packers have pretty much won the North. The Cowboys have pretty much won the East. I mean, it's still. I mean, the Rams and the Cardinals are going to run away with the West. The Bucs have already won the South.
Yeah, you ain't kidding. They look, honestly, the Buccaneers look better than last year.
The Bengals are winning their division right now. How is a team that we kicked their ass? We got boat raced by the Browns. The Browns beat our ass, and they're third in that division. We kicked the ass of the Bengals, and they're in first place, and people are talking about them being the favorites in the AFC to go to the Super Bowl.
Football, man. Football.
It's fluid, man.
I still think Buffalo's the favorite to go to the AFC, but though Buffalo, as good as they've looked, they haven't been indestructible either.
No, they have not. I mean, you know what? Do not count the Patriots out of that division. Do not count them out.
Yeah, we'll see.
You know what's sad? for as bad as the Jets are, the Dolphins have a worse record.
Oh, they are brutal.
The Texans have a worse record. The Lions have a worse record.
They're the only winless team left, I believe.
Watch, they'll beat the Bears.
Oh, on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing about the Lions is unlike the Patricia Lions, they actually are in. I mean, they were in that game all the way against the Rams, and I thought the Rams were going to absolutely steamroll the Lions, and they almost beat the Baltimore.
I think this is a good coaching staff. I think it's the right coaching staff for the Lions.
I do too.
They just don't have the players yet. But I think it's the right coaching staff. I think they have the right coaching staff in there.
I agree. And I think everybody knew that they didn't have the talent. But yeah, no, I agree. I do think they have the right coaching staff in there.
So we got the Bears as an underdog at home against the 49ers this week. Then they go to Pittsburgh, who is, man, that is a Jekyll and Hyde team.
Yeah, you never know what you're going to get there.
But it's going to be on Monday night. So I assume the Bears are going to be a laughing stock on national stage.
More likely than not.
Then they have their bye. If the Bears get beat by the 49ers and they're as beat by the Steelers, and you're going into your bye, how do you keep Matt Nagy? Because there's a real possibility that you go into that bye with a 4-game losing streak.
Of course, absolutely.
And then you're going to come out of that bye with a loss. You're not beating the Ravens.
No, you're not.
Maybe you beat the Lions. You're not beating the Cardinals. You're not beating the Packers. And the announcers were like, oh, the Bears end their season with a favorable schedule. Well, you get the Vikings twice. The Giants aren't very good. But you're going to get a Seahawks team back with Russell Wilson.
And the Vikings are looking better and better.
Yeah, the Vikings are looking better and better, and they're looking to get some revenge on you. And, if that's what it takes to fire everybody, is go the nuclear option. I'm going to root for them to lose. I don't know what else to do. It sucks to do that because it's not like we get any benefit out of it other than firing those two rum-dums. We don't have a first-round pick next year. It goes to the Giants. So all we're doing by having a better pick is lining the pocket of the New York Giants.
Yeah, pretty much.
And apparently Jimmy Garoppolo is going to start versus the Bears. Trey Lance is expected to practice this week, so he'll probably be his backup. And we probably won't have Matt Nagy, I'm guessing.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't really know.
I mean, he tested positive for COVID. What are the odds that he's he goes through protocol and is back before Sunday?
I don't really know how that all works. I'll be honest with you.
Let's see. Looking at the NFL COVID protocol. Testing every day.
I mean, don't you have to test negative by a certain time?
I don't know. I'm looking that up now. Surprisingly, it's not anything very clear. Vaccinated individuals who test positive and are asymptomatic will be isolated and contact tracing will promptly occur. The positive individual will be permitted to return to duties after 2 negative tests at least 24 hours apart. After that, they will be tested every week or as directed by the medical staff.
So we just got to wait and see.
So that would mean, so it'd have to be 24 hours apart. So he would have to be clear by Friday
Yeah.
and Saturday test negative.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
It's just mind-boggling. That's our team.
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny is I'm sensing we're moving on to another subject. This is a dumpster fire, the Bears. But there's another team in this city that might be even bigger of a dumpster fire.
Before we talk about that, I said I wanted to talk about the one positive thing, and that is Khalil Herbert. It looks really good.
Yes, he does.
And honestly, I'm going to say this is I have a feeling that when David Montgomery's contract is up, they're not going to sign him.
He might be expendable. Yeah.
Yes, because you have Khalil Herbert, and
you
honestly,
don't pay big money to running backs these days.
I mean,
unless you're like Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I mean, you pay a Derrick Henry because he's just an absolute beast. But it's crazy that this offensive line run blocks pretty decently, but they can't pass block to save their lives. It's ridiculous.
Nope.
And you listen to Olin Kreutz, and he'll talk about how a lot of it's the scheme. It's the scheme not working, and whose fault is that? That's a Matt Nagy scheme. But Khalil Herbert looks good. He's hitting the holes hard. He's running powerfully. He's carrying guys on his back. Proud of him. And I liked him coming out of college.
It was a good pick. That was a good pick.
It was a very good pick. And it's going to be great when Montgomery comes back to have that two-headed monster and really hammer guys, keep them fresh. That's going to really be the Bears' savior if they have two-headed monster running back and you just go in there and carry your offense with the running game.
Absolutely.
The problem is what happens with the Bears is they'll pick up 1 yard on a running play and then they're like, oh shit, it's second and long. And that's when disaster happens, is exactly what happened against the Buccaneers. You've got to find running plays that are going to put you in successful positions, not slow developing ones like Matt Nagy likes to call.
Right.
But yeah, I do like your transition is the Bears are a dumpster fire. And the only thing that is even comparable is the Chicago Blackhawks.
The team has just broken the record for minutes without having a lead.
To start a season.
Yes.
But
they have 1 point.
By the time we record next, they could be the all-time record holder, period.
Mm-hmm. Sean, I want to tell you go ahead.
They have not had a lead at any point in any game this season.
This is a team with Kane and Taze and DeBrincat and Doc.
And Marc-Andre Fleury.
Yeah.
And you just paid big money for a defenseman.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, Seth Jones is meh.
He has not been good this year.
Honestly, his last few years in Columbus, he wasn't that great. And again, I didn't mind getting a guy like Seth Jones, but God, that contract extension. That's one of many issues. Sean, I want to tell you a story. My buddy, shout out to Larry, gave me, because he couldn't use them, tickets to opening night, the home opener for the Blackhawks. And these tickets were just a few rows up from the ice, right behind the net. Best seats I ever had by far at a Blackhawks game. And it's opening night. They were coming in 0-3, sure, but the fans were pumped at the beginning. The energy was loud. Everyone welcomed back Jonathan Toews. It was great. By the third period, you're down 4-0. There's booing. There's fire Colliton chants. There's just a whole lot of frustration in the stands. And man, oh man, I cannot say that I have seen a game quite like that in person where the crowd was so hostile towards the home team. You had moments where in the third period where the Blackhawks were icing the puck when they clearly could have just made a simple move and cut the puck off, but they just kind of just let it go, went by, the puck was iced, and boos came out. I mean, it looked like they had just given up, and it was really something to see in person. You can only get so much of a sense of a crowd on television when you're actually there at the game, especially when you're sitting that close to the action. I mean, you felt just the dejection of the team and the fan base when that was all going down. It was just sad. And last night against the Red Wings, the sellout streak ended. After 500 whatever games going back to 2008, the sellout streak ended, and Red Wings fans were loud and noticeable in the stands. You could hear it on TV.
And the fire Colliton chants.
They were, yeah, you could hear them. And Jeremy Colliton handed his clipboard to his players. Listen, we can rail on Matt Nagy for a number of reasons. Jeremy Colliton, I have nothing personal against the guy. He is way over his head. He was drafted with Brent Seabrook.
Yep. And I want to read you this article
not there
here.
Yet. Okay.
What if the Blackhawks have been wallowing in mediocrity for so long that they've punted on any chance of contending for the next decade? What if the net result from the moves made by team president and general manager Stan Bowman over the last 5 or 6 years is so deep into the negative that's impossible to be salvaged? Or simply put, what if this version of the Chicago Blackhawks has been assembled so poorly in the short term and long term that there's no reasonable way out? Would you really want to know?
That's what it feels like.
I'm here to definitively tell you, or not here to definitively tell you that they are that way, but this particular picture has been working its way into focus more and more over the last 10 days. After losing its first 6 games against opponents, excellent and not, Chicago is now staring down 3 games in 4 days against Toronto, Carolina, and St. Louis, 3 times that will be heavily favorites. This horrendous start may have already dug the Blackhawks a hole it will not emerge from this entire season, and it's not even Halloween yet.
Yep.
The long-term picture doesn't feel much better right now. Seth Jones is under contract until 2030 and has not been on the ice for a Blackhawks goal at 5-on-5 yet. And he's been on the ice for 10 from opponents. Alex DeBrincat may be one of the team's best players, but it's still hard to place him into the category of a player that can take over a game by himself, like, say, Patrick Kane. Jonathan Toews is back, and that's great, but he's already 33 and not getting any younger. Dominique Kubalik and Connor Murphy and Brandon Hagel can be good players, but probably won't be great ones. As for prospects, that cupboard is starting to look quite bare once again. Adam Bogquist is gone. The majority of the prospects remaining are close to the range of middle line pairing futures without much top line potential. Kirby Dach is still young, of course, but while it would be nice to have something more concrete to point to than merely potential, something like the hat trick he scored on Sunday night by Lucas Raymond, Detroit's number 4 pick in the 2020 draft, 1 year, 1 pick later than Dach. All of the other fixtures from the team's glory days are gone. Yes, Taves and Kane are still here. Their contracts will be up in the summer of 2022, and they do have the option of taking their skills out of town if they wish, but we can cross save that when the future, or that discussion for later. This might be where the Blackhawks are, with a group of veterans that are NHL caliber, but perhaps without enough talent or quality to suggest that cup contention is on the short-term radar. And while there are some prospects with exciting futures, it's hard to imagine those reinforcements are adequate enough to fortify the crumbling foundation that currently exists at the NHL level. So I ask this again, if this team has no present hopes of competing for the Stanley Cup and a similar bleak outlook on the future, would you really want to know?
Summed it up perfectly. I mean, I wrote an article the other day on my personal sports blog basically saying the Blackhawks are in hell. I feel really like there's no end game here. 1 minute they're making moves where it looks like they're trying to say, yeah, we're going for it. And then you have insiders saying how they're citing a rebuild. Why would you cite you're in a rebuild if you make those moves for Jones, Fleury, Tyler Johnson? Those aren't rebuilding moves.
No, this defense has been terrible. Seth Jones has been not very good. He's almost been a liability. Eric Gustafson shouldn't be in this lineup. They just look lost on defense.
Yeah, I mean, they're getting owned on defense one way or another. And Marc-Andre Fleury, if I were him, I'd just say, you know what, I'm done. Why would you want to keep playing like this? Like, honestly, why would you want to keep playing like this? And you have to look at the big picture here with this franchise. You remember when they fired Dennis Savard after a few games to bring in Quenneville?
Yes.
Do you remember when they fired Coach Quenneville when they were 6-6? Why is Jeremy Colliton?
I thought it was 15 games in, but it might have been 12.
Well, they had a few overtime losses.
Okay. So yeah, it was, I think 15 games in, and Savard, that was not very many games in.
No, it was only a few. That was like a week in.
You're right. I don't know why Colliton is here. And honestly, I'm in a race now. Is who gets fired first? Matt Nagy or Jeremy Colliton?
Well, I mean, I would think Jeremy Colliton, but the Blackhawks have shown no signs of wanting to make a change. They've shown absolutely no signs whatsoever. And you know what? You have a team that just ended their sellout streak. You have a team that just ended their sellout streak. You know what? If this continues, the United Center is going to be half empty by February.
Well, I'm going to put this into perspective. Is my wife was looking at tickets, and she found tickets for $10 a piece.
Yeah. It's only going to get easier to get tickets.
Yeah, because nobody wants to watch. And honestly, I hate to say it because I love the sport. Hockey is a niche sport, and Chicago is very amenable to joining the ranks of being a Blackhawks fans. And we saw that with 500 plus sellout games in a row, and how many people walk around with Blackhawks gear. And the reason is because they were winning. And
yep.
And you could have kept that going with even just, fringe type playoff teams, but you couldn't keep that going up. All you have is garbage. And I don't understand why. I mean, you've got to pin this on Stan. And I don't understand what backing Stan and giving Stan a promotion. They promoted the guy.
I am just hoping that Danny Wirtz is smarter than we hope. I really hope he sees this and says, you know what, there's an issue here. I'm really hoping that this team just isn't turning into another Jerry Reinsdorf-esque team where they stand their friends and they chase the ones they don't like out.
That's really what it is.
It's you get rid of John McDonough, you get rid of Coach Quenneville, you stand by Stan Bowman, who's responsible for making the roster. You stand by a head coach who came in with literally no experience whatsoever. And I don't get it. I'm going to say it like I say with the Bears. I don't get it. I mean, you look at coming into this season, Jeremy Colliton was a 500 coach. He had some of his moments, but mediocrity gets you nowhere. And this is going to be a lesson. If they keep losing, like I said, you're going to see more no-shows. You're going to see the United Center get emptier and emptier. And all I hope is that Danny Wirtz sees this and takes action. And again, I don't want to personally attack Colliton because I think he's just an innocent guy over his head. Like, I kind of feel bad for the guy, but this can't continue. You're an Original Six NHL franchise in one of the biggest markets. You can't keep doing this. You're supposed to be a prideful organization. And, unfortunately, over the past 6 months, you've been anything but a proud organization. And you need to make it stop. You absolutely need to make it stop.
Yeah, it's so frustrating. And it's not even like, their competitive losses. They just look lost. It's a team they don't know what they're doing. Their entry passes into the zone are terrible. They look confused on defense. They've got an exceptional goalie, and you see how bad he's playing because they've got a bad team around him. And it makes you wonder, is last year, how much, how good was their goalie, compared to how bad the defense was in front of him?
Yeah. And I think the overall thing you got to take away with what's going on with the Blackhawks is even with the roster moves over the summer, we knew this wasn't a cup contending team, but we darn well expected, and they should be better than this. I mean, you know what's funny, Sean, is when I was at the game Tuesday night, last Tuesday, the home opener, you know what I was impressed with? How a team that managed to get 40 shots on net could still look so out of sync, because a lot of those shots they put on net were dump-in attempts, because, you put in dump-in attempts towards the net, it's going to count as a shot on goal. But the reason you saw some of those dump attempts is because they couldn't enter the zone cleanly. So when you can't enter the zone cleanly, what do desperate teams try to do? They try to play dump and chase, and that accounted for a lot of their shots. You actually look at the quality opportunities they had, they didn't have nearly as many quality opportunities as they did shots. And another thing, too, watching that game in person was, especially near ice level, is how many times they whiffed on a one-timer. It's like, come on.
And oh my God, it's so frustrating. It's
what I'm talking about.
I scream like a crazy person, is just whiff, or they might get it, but it is broken stick, or it's not clean. You're just like, how this many times in a row? How?
Yeah, and from talented guys. And here's the thing that also really hurt about opening night. Kane and Taves were basically invisible.
Pretty much, yeah.
And it's sad because, yeah, this team isn't great, but they're not this bad. I mean, we know the defense isn't good. We know that. But the big guys that are supposed to be scoring aren't scoring. You're not seeing Kane put up a lot of goals or even a lot of scoring chances, nor are you seeing as much from Alex DeBrincat or Jonathan Taves. At least he's a little more understandable. He didn't play last year, but you want to see more from the guys that are supposed to be scoring. You have scorers on this team. You have Kane, you have Taves, you have Kubalik, you have DeBrincat. Kirby Dach has scoring potential. It's frustrating when you don't see it. It really is.
I don't know the fix, honestly,
I think a new system. You need a new system to start.
That's absolutely the bare minimum start. And I mean, you clearly we know Colliton is not the answer. So I never understand if you are clear of the answer, why don't you pull the trigger? And you go, okay, well, Colliton clearly is not the guy, and let's just cut our losses. Like, what purpose does continuing with him have? Like, why?
The NHL sees coaching changes and front office changes constantly.
Yeah. So why aren't we making a move?
I mean, you go back to maybe even 2015 when they last won a cup. Look at how many coaches are there any coaches that are still on the same teams? How many front office guys are still in their same role? Probably not a lot. Guys rotate, they go to different places, they go to new environments, teams make changes. It's a constant game of adjustments. The league passed the Blackhawks by 4 years ago, and since then they have not adjusted back. Every team has made some sort of adjustment in some way. And is the ownership settling? Are they like, yeah, we won our Stanley Cup. Let's reap the long-lasting benefits of that. Newsflash, guys, you're not the Cubs. You're not the Bears. You're not the Bulls. You know, when you're not doing well, it's going to go away. The fan base. I mean, let's be real. When it comes to diehard loyalty, thick and thin, in this city, the Blackhawks are not the highest on that list. Like I said, they're not the Cubs, they're not the Bears, they're not the Bulls. So you're going to see the empty seats. You're going to see TV ratings continue to plummet. It might not be Bill Wirtz era bad. It's hard to get that bad, but I mean, Sean, let's say they're still dead last by February. Would you be surprised if there were 5, 6, 7,000 empty seats in the United Center? I wouldn't be.
Oh, it's going to be ugly. It's going to be real ugly.
And you know, Sean, here's another thing too. I told you the story, right? How I went to the first Blackhawks Wings preseason game, right?
Yes.
I would say the attendance there was maybe 12,000. And, you know, on the surface, you say, okay, it's preseason and there is a pandemic. You know, that might factor in a little bit. But put this in perspective. When the Blackhawks were winning cups, all those preseason games were filled to the brim. Even the preseason games were full.
Yeah, that's what we saw. And we're not seeing that. And I wonder if it takes a financial hit to bring about this change.
Yeah. Yeah. Because another thing too to consider through this whole thing is Blackhawks fans love Pat Foley on TV. And Pat Foley's not doing all the games because he's on his way out. So if the team is bad and Pat Foley's not announcing, you know, then there's really, are you going to watch the game? It might depend on who's announcing. I mean, John Weideman's great. He did a few of the games, but if it's somebody else, no disrespect to them, but you know, you're used to Pat Foley and sometimes you watch those games when your team is bad to listen to your hometown announcer. I mean, look at how many people watch the Cubs on WGN to listen to Harry Carey or Jack Brickhouse when they were bad. It just, that might play a role in it too. And that's not to say that another announcer is bad per se, but you know, when your team is bad and you like listening to Pat Foley and you're not getting either, why would you tune in?
It's like Boog Shambi he's great, but I mean, technically he's a far superior announcer to Ron Santo or Harry Carey. But if you are a casual fan, who do you want to hear?
Right. You want to hear that hometown. And I think Boog Shambi's a really good announcer, but I still think he's got to build that hometown persona, because I think Len Casper really adjusted well in doing that. And I I think that just might come with time. It's hard to settle in right away. And whoever the Blackhawks bring in permanently, they're going to have to do the same thing. So, it's harder when you do that when the team is bad. Just like for Bugshabi, it was harder to do when the team was bad. I mean, really, let's be real. If the Blackhawks were a Stanley Cup contender, we wouldn't be as picky of who's calling the play. If you want to watch the team because they're good. But when you're not good, you need the announcer to help keep you along to stay with it when your team is not competing. And the Blackhawks are not competing. And we always had Pat Foley to look to, except the Bill Wirtz days when he took the games off TV. But, now you're not getting that.
Yeah, it's been tough. It has been tough to watch. It's, it's just an all around dog shit of a product from top down. And Stan is not doing what he's supposed to do. Jeremy Colliton's bad. You're not getting the best out of your players, even the players that you have that are good. And, nobody wants to see the announcers that they have. It's just a disaster, and it's the worse they perform, the more of a head it's going to come to.
Yeah, you said it best. And I don't know what's going to happen here. I don't know how they can keep going like this still. You just set an infamous record. You might set an even more infamous record.
What's crazy is the record where the most minutes consecutively to start a season without having a lead. Did you see what team had the record previously?
No.
The California Golden Seals.
Wow. Team that doesn't even exist anymore.
It hasn't existed in like 50 years.
It's crazy.
Like, that was a team that I just honestly, until I read that, was out of my mind, that I'd forgotten that team even existed.
Yeah. Yeah, that was well before my time.
Oh, I mean, they were gone years before I was born.
Yeah.
That they've just been erased from my memory completely. And
did they share with the time with the LA Kings? Like, were the LA Kings in existence when they existed? I honestly, I don't know the exact timeline of the Golden Seals. I just know the LA Kings were one of the 67 expansion teams, I believe.
Yes, they were overlapping.
But yeah, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, so the Kings were from the 67 expansion, and then the Golden Seals, I think, started. Oh, now I'm looking that up. They started in 60. They were part of 67 too. 67. They went to 76. So they weren't that much longer before I was born. But
it's a while before me, no offense.
That's understandable. They were not a franchise for very long.
No, they weren't. And
not even a decade.
I mean, did they ever have a winning season?
I don't know, but this is funny. Due to low attendance, the franchise was relocated in 76 to become the Cleveland Barons, who would cease operations 2 years later.
Yeah.
They're the only franchise from the 67 expansion never to reach the Stanley Cup Finals.
Oof. That's who you're getting compared to, Blackhawks. The Golden Seals.
Oh, the 67 expansion. Who was all
Blues, Kings, were the
Minnesota.
Quebec Nordiques, Minnesota North Stars. Were the Nordiques in that expansion?
So it was the Blues, the Penguins.
Oh, maybe.
All right, I'm just pulled it up. It's the Penguins, the Blues, the Flyers, the Minnesota North Stars, the Los Angeles Kings, and the California Golden Seals.
There you go. There you go.
So yeah, the Penguins have 5 Stanley Cup wins. The Flyers have 2 Stanley Cup wins. The Blues have 1 Stanley Cup win. Dallas had a 99 Cup win. Kings in 2012, 2014, and California Golden Seals are no longer a franchise. Yeah, so the Blackhawks, just a complete disaster. And I don't envision it getting any better. I mean, maybe somebody comes in and stabilizes things a little bit, but this is this is not going to be some sort of miracle turnaround.
No, there's going to be no switch that's just magically flipped. I mean, there's got to be something done, and you got to kind of climb your way out of it. But like we said earlier, I feel like at this point they've already kind of dug themselves too deep of a hole. I know it's only October, but considering all the other teams in your conference that are so much better than you, it's going to be hard to climb out of this.
Yep. And so that's why I'm all for making the move now, giving you more time to right the ship.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just surprised that something hasn't been done already, but they seem to be hell bent on making this work. I don't know why, but
I don't know what the indications are that they have that this could work. We have not seen anything in the entire Colliton regime, which is in this 3rd year.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't.
This is kind of its 4th year, isn't it? Well, let's see. He came in 18-19, so 18-19, 19-20, 2021, and so we're kind of in the 4th year.
So I mean, I don't know what they've seen to give them any sort of semblance of hope that the ship is going to get righted.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not looking good.
Nope, not even a little bit. But we do have one team in town that is doing very well, in the Chicago Bulls. And I saw a meme today. It was the Homer Simpson where he fades back into the bushes and then comes out, and he's got a Bears jersey on. He fades in the bushes and comes out with a Bulls jersey. And that's absolutely what's happening in Chicago. Is we are all becoming Chicago Bulls fans again. And because they finally did what needed to be done. They parted ways with their coaching staff, the front office staff, and they brought in a president of basketball operations who had a strong track record and respect around the league and knew what he was doing. He brought in a general manager that complimented him well. They brought in a coach that they felt would work well with them and had experience. And they built around the superstar they had. And what we have now is a night and day difference. I mean, the team that they fielded last year, where they had minimal time to rebuild, was a lot better than the previous year. This year, when had a full off season to build, they hit a home run. And what the product they put on the floor right now is great. They're went 4-0 in the preseason. They are now 4-0 in the regular season. And this team knows how to play. And it's funny with a team with, DeMar DeRozan, and Zach Levine and Vooch. This team is built on defense.
Yeah, you see the night and day difference defensively of this team. I mean, you look at the way these guys are able to just play so hard. They're able to create turnovers, create steals, create mismatches. It's fun to watch. And tonight's game against the Raptors, you almost blew it. You had a 20-point lead. You got really sloppy, really careless. Vucevic had a brutal night, but you were still able to pull it out. We know that if this was the same team last year in that situation, this would have wound up as a loss. I mean, how many times did they blow big leads in the fourth quarter last year? But, this year you have enough talent where you're able to overcome some of this stuff. And, the nice thing about these first 4 games being 4-0 is you get an easy start to the season where you're able to look at the goods, you're able to look at what you're going to need to build off of, and then you're going to get a real test because you're about to embark on a journey of teams that are much, much better than the Pistons and the Pelicans and even the Raptors per se, even though the Raptors aren't a bad team. But, you're going to play some really good competition, and you want to look at these 4 games and build on what you do well. And you look at guys like Lonzo Ball, he's looked really dang good. Zach Levine continues to look really dang good. Alex Caruso, you want to talk about a great pickup. That guy is fun to watch night in, night out. He is all over the place, up and down the court. He is stripping the ball away from people. He's making things happen. You're seeing a team that does the little things. We haven't seen that in years. Whether it's defense, whether it's offense, whether it's ball movement, you're seeing this team do the little things so much better. But you're also looking at these games and you see areas where you need to improve. One common theme of the first 4 games, and Sean, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about, is you want to get out of the gate better in terms of shooting. You don't want to dig yourself a hole early when you play much better competition. That's just one thing.
And honestly, Vucevic has been a big problem with the shooting. He has not been shooting well this whole season. Not a single game.
He's very short on a lot of his shots.
And they're talking about how he's been sick. So maybe that has something to do with it.
Could be.
I don't expect this to be long. And once he gets out of it, teams are in trouble. Teams are in big trouble when he starts hitting his shot. And you're right. They got to get a jump out a little better, but the defense has been great. And Alex Caruso was a huge pickup. Lonzo Ball has been really good.
Oh, he's been great.
And the big difference between this year and the last several years, they don't turn the ball over like they used to.
No, though that was a little bit of a problem in this fourth quarter, but you know what? It was a bad stretch of basketball the Bulls played in this fourth quarter against Toronto. Learn from it, shake it off, move on.
Yeah, but Alex Caruso is going to endear himself to the Chicago audience with that hard-nosed defense and, getting his hands in to the passing lanes. Everyone's going to be like, all the Kirk Heinrich lovers are going to be like, I'm now an Alex Caruso guy.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? It's good to see a nitty-gritty tough team. How many teams have we had to watch that were just so dang soft?
Yeah, absolutely.
This is not a soft team.
Yeah, this team is they're hard-nosed. They're finding ways to win. They're playing good defense, and their defense is stymieing people. And I love it. I'm here for it. They can light it up on the scoreboard. They can play tough defense. Like to see them hit free throws a little better, but you're watching the rotation is deep, looks good. And we still haven't seen Patrick Williams at his best yet. I mean, he's still learning. We still don't have Kobe White.
Nope.
He's still out. This team can get better.
Absolutely they can. Absolutely they can. And also, too, you've seen Zach Levine, for as good as he's been kind of a notorious slow starter in these games. And you feel like a guy with his skill set is going to be able to kind of move out of that funk. And yet he's still putting up 20 plus points a night. So it's like when he hits his full stride, look out.
Right. And I'm going to put it out there is there's only one team in the NBA that's 4-0.
That's the Bulls.
The Bulls.
The Bulls. And, the other thing, too, that I like about the Bulls is we mentioned Alex Caruso, but you look at Javonte Green and Brown Jr. and Johnson, you're getting production out of them. And I know he's got things to work on. And I know that there's going to be some growing pains, but I'm just really excited watching Ayo Dosunmu on the Bulls. It's just, I love watching him on the court. The guy puts 100+% when he's out there. I love his energy. I love his enthusiasm. I love having him on the team.
Oh yeah, he's been a great addition. He's fun to watch. He's plays hard. He syncs up well with this team. You don't see a huge drop off in the performance when he's on the court. And for being, what was he? He was second round, like the 30-something pick in the second round last year?
He was their first pick of the draft.
But he was 30-something.
Yeah, he's second rounder, pick. Obviously.
Yeah, so he was, that's not usually a position that you find a decent player, and he's played well. He's played pretty well. And I remember when they picked him, you were really excited.
Yes, I was. As an Illini fan, I was very excited. I said, this kid's a warrior. He puts it all out on the court. I think this could be a very underrated pick for the Bulls. And so far, I think they're seeing why. So that's really exciting. Fun fact, Zach Levine has officially passed Michael Jordan for fourth most three-pointers made in franchise history.
Huh. Zach finally has 4 consecutive wins.
Yes, he does. Zach is only 26 years old. He's been in the league 8 years, and he's finally on a team that can win.
Yeah, and they need to lock him up.
Yes, they do.
Give him that max deal.
Yes, he's worth it. I mean, he's the guy you want to have the ball at the end of a game. He's kind of your closer in a way.
What's crazy is this team has several guys that you're comfortable with them having the ball late. You're comfortable with Vooch. You're comfortable with DeRozan. I'm even comfortable with Ball. Like Lonzo Ball, deep ball has had a really nice stroke on it all season long. He worked on his 3-point shooting.
Yeah, I mean, even in tonight's game against Toronto, he hit some absolutely nail threes in this game. I think all of his points were on 3-pointers in the game against Toronto. Yeah, no, you're right. It's not just Zach Levine. I still say Zach Levine's the guy I'd want the most, but I think DeMar DeRozan is right up there with him. We haven't even talked about DeMar DeRozan yet. He had a really nice game this evening against his former team in Toronto. And I believe he was the leading scorer. And DeMar DeRozan, I mean, people were thinking, but it'd be cool if they could pick him up. They end up picking him up, and look what a difference this guy has made. Look at the way he's able to shoot the ball with guys in his face. He's able to do, with the under pressure turnaround shot, and he's still able to drill those shots. It's impressive.
And it's funny is a lot of people were like, well, how is this going to work with the players the Bulls have? There's only one basketball. And guess what? They're making it work.
Yeah, exactly. It's fun knowing that we're watching a 4-0 team, but they're still trying to build chemistry and figure things out. It's like, if this is where they're at, where they're still trying to figure things out, where could they be when they're playing at full potential?
Right. And earlier I said that I wanted to see the Bulls as a team shooting better free throws. And it's funny because I said it on a night where I'm just looking and they only missed one free throw. It was a big one, the Vooch at the end of the game. It was a difference between them having no chance and them, being a 3-pointer away from taking this to overtime. But, yeah, I mean, you're just looking, and they have a really deep roster, and I like where this is going.
It's nice that you can feel good when the bench comes in, that the bench mob is actually a thing again.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, the big thing that they need to do is get Patrick Williams up to speed.
Yeah. I think that, I think he's got a bit of work to do. And I'm not writing him off by any means, but I still think there's, I was hoping we'd see a little more progression, but it's still a work in progress.
Yes, and I'm not writing him off. I mean, I know he was voted by the executives as a top 5 breakout candidate for this season, and we're not seeing that. And part of it is, I think he's gotta want to have that hunger to score, because I mean, you're on a team with 4 alphas. Somebody's got to be a beta, but there's a difference between being a backseat beta and a beta that's complementary and a big cog in winning. And that's what I want from him. If he's not going to be an alpha, is be a really productive beta.
You don't necessarily need him to be an alpha. You just want him to complement the team and perform in the role that you want him to perform in. As long as you get solid play from him and he is just part of the cog that runs the well-oiled machine, that's what you're looking for.
Yeah. And, tonight he had 4 points, but he was 2 of 3 from shooting. No turnovers, 2 blocks and a steal. Okay, contribute other ways. You're not turning the ball over. You're not missing shots. So make the shots that you're shooting. Shoot a high percentage. I'd like to see him take some more threes, but defensively, okay. He's part of the reason that the Bulls are playing well defensively. So you've got to commend him on that. But I would like to see him, have a breakout game and see where that takes him.
Absolutely. But overall, man, it's exciting. It's fun. I mean, this Bulls team means so much to the city. The team is buying into it. The atmosphere at the United Center for their first 2 home games was extraordinary. They're going to be bringing that all year, man. That crowd is going to be behind this team and then some.
Oh yeah. And, and we got a good game coming up on Thursday against the Knicks. And those are 2 up and coming teams. That's going to be a good one. They got the Jazz on Saturday, and the Jazz, I think, are undefeated right now.
The Jazz, let's see. They are 2-0 as of right now.
You got the Celtics coming up Monday, and then next week, the 76ers twice.
Mm-hmm. Then the Nets, the Mavericks, the Warriors, the Clippers, the Lakers, the Blazers.
Yeah, you got some good games coming up here.
Nuggets, Knicks, Pacers, Rockets. Yeah. And then the Heat after the Magic. So yeah, it's a stretch, man.
Yeah, but those 76ers games will be good. I'm curious what's going to happen with Ben Simmons there.
Yeah, that whole thing is such a dumpster fire.
Like I don't even know how to get into the psychology of that. Is Ben Simmons needs to put his big boy pants on and play, and he's getting paid a lot of money. And that team, you know what? If he's going to be a baby, just part ways with him. You're not going to get multiple first round picks like you're expecting, because he gets paid a lot of money and he can't shoot. Like, why would anybody trade a lot for that?
And I cringe every time somebody tries to suggest the Bulls go get him.
You know what is you watched him earlier last season and you're like, that's kind of the guy the prototype, a good defensive guy, high basketball IQ, doesn't need to be shooting the ball all the time. You're like, okay, that would fit. And we ended up getting a guy very similar to that, Lonzo Ball, but Lonzo has become a good shooter. And that's been the big difference there with the Bulls. Big step forward is Lonzo hitting shots. And so we ended up with a steal, paid less than Ben Simmons, and is playing significantly better.
Yeah, I mean, Lonzo Ball fit this team in so many ways, and just you love his personality. You love rooting for the type of guy like Lonzo Ball. I was on cloud nine when they got him, and you felt confident that was going to happen because they'd been rumored to be in on him for so long. And you saw the fit there, and you were confident that Arturas Karnisovas was going to get his guy.
And he did.
And he did. Yeah, he got him right away.
So, and he got the guy he wanted without giving up what he thought he would have to give up. And the Bulls are looking great. And it's awesome that, we don't, we were talking about, oh, hey, maybe the Bulls are like a 7 seed. I mean, honestly, what's to prevent the Bulls from being a top 3 seed?
I'm still going to put them between 6 and 4.
Yeah, who knows? I'm just saying what's to stop them?
Milwaukee, Brooklyn.
But is Brooklyn the same team we thought they were? They don't have Kyrie.
No, they don't. Look, I'm super excited about this team. I want to see how they play against better opponents before I make that conclusion. Because not to downplay anything, but after seeing their game in Toronto tonight, it's evident that there's some sloppiness that they really do need to clean up. As good as we've seen.
Absolutely. And I'm not anointing them or anything. I'm just saying, I'm not saying one, but a top 3 is being third. It's not out of the realm of possibility. I'm looking here. So
as you're covering yourself with meatball sauce.
All right. Bucks are really good. Knicks are very good. We'll see them. They're playing the Knicks next. 76ers are a good team, but there's drama there. The Heat are a good team. We'll see where they go. Wizards are a decent team. The Nets are a good team, but are they going to play up to their potential? I doubt it. Pistons, Pacers, Magic, no. Raptors, Cavaliers, Celtics maybe. The Hornets have the second best record in the conference right now, so I don't expect them to continue that, because they barely beat the Pacers. They just lost to the Celtics. It's really early. But
yes,
I'm just saying is that defense travels. They're a good defensive team. They've got multiple scorers. They've got an experienced head coach. That they've got a formula in place to be a top 3 seed.
I hope you're right, man. I hope you're right.
This is an open conference, I think. I mean, if they're not a top 7 seed, then something went off. I mean, if you could,
something had to go off the rails.
Yeah. Like Zach is hurt most of the season, or
DeMar DeRozan gets hurt or Lonzo Ball gets hurt or Vukovic continues not to play well. It's
but I think people saying 7 seed, I think was undervaluing what this franchise is.
Yeah, and I think there might have just been a little bit of play on, there were people just questioning the chemistry right away, and they weren't ready to go that much higher. You look at on paper talent, and you look at, well, are they going to mesh together? So I think that's why people were kind of lowballing them a little bit, and I get that, but as the season goes on, the Bulls can continue to prove the doubters wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all you can really do.
Yep, and we can also play the song. We could play that song all season long.
And I'm looking, sportsnaut.com has their power rankings out, and it was prior to today. And they have the Bulls at the number 5. They have Bucks 1, Nets 2, Jazz 3, Golden State 4, Bulls 5.
There you go.
So, I'm happy with what I'm seeing, and if nothing else, they've made basketball in Chicago fun again.
And they've given us something good to watch this winter.
Yes, something. Because the other thing is not good.
No, the other 2 things are not good. And who knows what's going to happen with baseball? There's probably going to be a lockout.
Maybe.
I don't know if you saw the article today, but experts are saying that more likely than not, they're not going to figure this thing out by deadline day for when the CBA expires.
CBS Sports, MLB's almost certain to have first work stoppage in 26 years.
Mm-hmm.
Oof, not good.
Not good.
Expires on December 1st.
Which is right before the winter meetings, I believe, or right around there.
According to Bill Madden, I'm hearing as a prelude to a likely lockout by the owners December 1st, the winter meetings in Orlando are being canceled.
Oh, well, there you go.
If the winter meetings get canceled, both teams are settling in for a long lockout.
That's bad. That's bad.
Wow.
That is not looking good.
Negotiations have been taking place since last spring, and each side thinks the other has not made proposals that will lead to an agreement replacing the 5-year contract that expires 11:59 p.m. Eastern on December 1st.
Jeez.
So we are like a week and a month away from an MLB lockout.
Not good.
Ronald Blum of the Associated Press writes, a work stoppage beginning December 2nd is almost certain. I remember the last lockout. That was no fun.
I was 1 or 2.
What year were you born? 94?
Yeah. Well, it was that year, wasn't it?
That was that year.
Yeah, it was that year. That's right. And it went into 95, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I was 1 when it ended. So yeah, not good.
Well, do you have anything else you want to add?
Nope. I think I've said my piece.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. I want to thank everybody so much for listening. Please hit subscribe however you listen to podcasts, whether that's iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play, Spotify, etc. Follow us on social media at Swerski Sports, Facebook.com/Swerski Sports, SwerskiSports.com, AlexPatSportsChat.blogspot.com, our Facebook, Alex Pat Sports Chat, And make sure you share this podcast with your friends. That's how we grow the show. And again, thank you guys so much for listening. Until next time, bear down.
Cubs win! What a lucky break! The good Lord wants the Cubs to win!
We thank Ditka and God for all they have provided.
Cubs win! Cubs win! Cubs win!
Oh, I don't want her. You can have her. She's a Packer fan. She can't fit in my van.
And she looks like number New Yorkers. Smoking crack is not legal on planes. Bears 31 to -7. The Bears. Oh, when the Bears go bearing down.